Welcome to episode 99 of the Maple Leafs Hot Stove Podcast. I'm Nick Ashbourne, joined as always by Anthony Petrielli. We're coming to you kind of late in the preseason. It's not quite a season preview type deal, but we're getting close to the season here, realistically. We're going to hit you right off the top with a little bit of the news, and the big news around the Leafs right now is in the crease. We have Anthony Stolarz receiving a 4-year extension with the 3.75 million AAV. Also, we have Joseph Woll away from the team indefinitely, and the return of James Reimer, which is something I don't think many would have expected. Anthony, let's start with the Stolarz contract. What was your first impression when you saw what the numbers were?
I mean, honestly, a lot lower than expected. I think everybody probably falls under that boat. We had talked about this on the last episode, and you had seen some of these other goalie contracts get thrown out. Spencer Knight was just fresh off signing 5.8 million. Obviously, Spencer Knight's younger. He has the upside card. He also played 15 games last year. His, high is 32. He's 24 years old. There's a huge age gap and he has the upside, but he's also had, he missed time for off ice reasons. He signs that deal and I kind of pause at that point and go, well, is that putting Stolar's number up? You look at Kevin Lankinen, you look at who's, 5 by 4.5. You look at Joey Decord, who is just 5 by 5. And these were kind of the comparables that were getting thrown out publicly, in part because they were just recently signed goalies. Like Lankinen played 51 games last year, which was way more than Stolarz, but he also wasn't nearly as good as Stolarz. And so there's a big gap there in terms of like what can you sort of expect from him in that way. And I don't think Lankinen's ever even played a playoff game, and he's 30, so there's not a huge age gap here. He got more term, he got more money, and ultimately, I think you can kind of look at some of those other guys, Decord, Lankinen, and Knight, and for various reasons of games played, age, whatever, and say, yeah, maybe those guys should come in higher. Like, I think that's not an unreasonable thing to put out there, even though Stolarz has been really, really good for like 3 of the past 4 years. It's just been so limited in ice time. But I didn't think it was Stolarz wouldn't start with a 4 disparity. Like the fact that that first number is a 3 caught me off guard.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. The 3 was a real surprise. Stolarz, as we discussed on the last episode, like he is such a weird case because on a per game basis over the last couple of years, he has been, arguably the best goalie in the league on just kind of raw save percentage, goals against above average, those type of metrics. Like his impact is extremely high level impact, but you also have the age thing. You're buying his, at this point, age 33 through 36 seasons. And it's not just that he's that age and he's hitting that with significant durability concerns. Like it's not just that he has got to this point and mainly been a backup from a role perspective. Like he's dealt with injuries too. And so there is a lot of,
There's a
it's a
reason
high.
he signed that deal, even though he's been really good on his side. Like he didn't just like do everyone a favor. Like there's a reason he signed it too.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
like he
he's not
knows.
John Tavares, like he's not like he didn't wear Maple Leafs pajamas growing up. Like this is a security deal for him. And the way the contract goes, like for me, it's got to be about that fourth year for him. That's where he plants his flag and that's where he gets his win, is getting a solid salary in his age 36 season, where if he were to hit free agency at that time, unless he were really rolled into that strong, you were not probably going to get that. So I think that again, that's where he and his agent can claim a level of victory on this. I think it's kind of good for both sides. Realistically, he gets the length. The Leafs get a manageable cap for their goalie tandem. They know that he's a good fit. We've seen it for a season now and for a couple seasons. Again, that level of effectiveness on the per game is so high. You've got Joseph Woll for at least 3 more seasons. And this is a tandem that works for a variety of reasons. Like you don't have that guy who has the resume where he feels like he has to be the big dog and he's got to be the guy who pulls ahead in games played by a massive margin. Like you can do the Swayman Olmark thing with these guys just based on the way their careers have gone. And if one of them goes down, and often has been the case that one of them is going to go down, you have a reliable option to carry you over, however many weeks or months that takes. And, we'll see what happens with Woll here. Like, I don't feel super comfortable speculating what the deal with Woll is and how long he's going to be away. I mean, James Reimer is added. That's a sign that it's not like he's coming back tomorrow. Like, you wouldn't make any, I know that the Reimer move's not a huge move, but you wouldn't do anything if he's going to be back in a couple of days or something like that. So we might see Stolarz carrying that load early on. But yeah, it was a peculiar contract to try and negotiate from the beginning, and it was a good fit, but for I think both player and team. And I don't think you're going to raise many eyebrows. I think that your hope is that you're going to get, I don't know, 2 really good years out of Stolarz, and then maybe one shaky year, and then the last year you're like, we had good times in the previous 3 years.
He
But you
hasn't
never
played a
know.
ton. I would hope you get 3 good to above years, whatever that looks
Maybe
like. I ultimately, the more you look at it and then kind of piece things together, the Leafs definitely wanted 3 years. Like
for sure.
that was out there. Darren Dreger put it out there, and there are certain things in which he's tied pretty close to the Leafs, and I take it at, I don't want to say full face value, but I put a lot of weight into them. And he had framed it as like the Leafs want 3, Stolarz wants 4, and I kind of laughed when I saw that and thought, okay, for sure the Leafs are going to cave. Like it's going to be 4 if that's the argument here. Um, but in saying that, like good for Tree Living, like he did give a little bit on that. Uh, but he also gained on AAV. So we've seen this go the other way with certain players where, including ones that are still on the team, where it's like you gave them term, you lost on term and you lost on dollar figure. Like it's just like you can't do both. Like, it's like when they say like you can't be like down and ugly. Like you can be one of the two. Like you can't be both. And you can't give on term and you can't give on annual average. Like you can pick one. So this one they gave up obviously on term and not even a ton. Like they bent the knee a little bit, but they obviously got it back on annual average. I mean, there's a collection of contracts where you can say they've done this for now. Chris Tanev and Jake McCabe, they added extra term. They got huge value on annual average. Like I look at Tanev and say like he was probably closer to like a $7.5 to $8 million defenseman last year on a $4.5 million deal. And I look at McCabe and say like if he went to the UFA market this year, I think his number would have started with at least 6. Like Ryan Lindgren is making as much money as him. Like that's like they're not even in the same ballpark. Like they're not even in the same planet of player. No offense to Ryan Lindgren, but like they're not. And so, like he's got it for both of them. I would say for Tavares, like I don't even know if I would say he gave up on term. I think he just actually did pretty well on term and on AAV. Like I just think that was
It's
across the
just a
board.
different scenario. Like
Yeah.
it's just not comparable.
So kudos to him for all that, and kudos to Stolarz for, you can kind of tell when a guy, like when it's going to happen, right? Like he's coming out being like, I want this done by this time. Like I want to stay. And the Leafs clearly want him to stay. And you're like, all right, well, the 2 things you need to get a deal, or 3 things really you need to get a deal done is like both sides agree on the baseline, which is we want to stay, and a deadline. And they just worked towards it and got it done. So, you know, glad that's over with. Glad we don't have to watch Stolarz potentially get off to a hot start and hear people freaking out about his number. The 2 other pending UFAs of note-ish, I would say, are Bobby McMahon and Scott Laughton. I don't like honestly, short of like McMahon like popping off 30 plus, the way he played for the first half of last season, like he paced to be like a 32 goal scorer, I think, in the first 47 some odd games. Short of that happening, like I don't really think we're going to hear much about UFA contracts and whatever this year, which is
I
nice.
mean, you could really try and buy low on Scott Laughton right now if you felt that way about it, but like realistically, like that caliber of player is not going to
I,
generate the like those deadlines and those like we need to get this done. Like you can let those
yeah,
play out. You can let
yeah.
those guys perform or not perform and then circle back.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't know either of them personally, but I'm sure both would want to stay. Lawton is from here. He's already talked about how nice it is to have his like family around and be closer to home. And Um, McMahon has an awesome opportunity. Like he's playing with Tavares and Nylander. Like I don't think it's going to get much better for Bobby McMahon. Like so, good for him. All that to say is that kind of takes us to the Joseph Woll side of things. I don't want to spend any time speculating as to what it might be. That is a huge waste of time. Frankly, it's none of our business. But I do think it's important to discuss because honestly, this is the biggest thing that's come out of preseason for me. Like it's indefinite. We have no clue when he's coming back. And ultimately, I look at the team and I say the strength of this team is goaltending. Like that might be weird for people to hear, but if I look at the ultimate, like if you said what's the best position this team has when everybody's healthy, it would be goaltending. Like they were an elite tandem last year. And you can say the forward group is deeper and they still have Austin Matthews and William Nylander and Matthew Nyes is emerging and John Tavares is still good and they got deeper and blah blah blah. But until we see that forward group come together where it's something where I can like objectively be like this is good and they've proven it, there's still giant question marks there for me. The defense is aging. I think they're solid. I don't think they're like an elite unit by any means. They're just like a good, solid unit that I think works well together. And, it's five veterans, six if you count Simon Benoit as one. But there's no like superstar anchoring it. There's no, like there's not much like upside to it. You're just kind of like, you're banking on like 31-year-old Morgan Riley rebounding, Brandon Carlo feeling more comfortable, and then McCabe and Tanev like continuing to do what they're doing. I think they're all fair bets, but I don't think that's like the ultimate strength of the
Even
team.
if all those bets pay out, it's not like
Yeah,
the result is an
yeah,
elite unit.
yeah. You're
Like
not
that,
gonna.
it's a range between okay to better than okay, but there's not a huge ceiling.
Yeah. Whereas I look at the goaltending tandem, I'm like, this should actually be an elite unit. Like you're gonna put like you might not put like Stolarz directly against Hellebuck for the entire season, but you might sit there and say the combination of Woll and Stolarz could produce, and they almost did last year, basically the equivalent of Hellebuck and Comrie. Or like any goaltending in the league, you could, over 82 games of a grind, you could put them against. But that only works because there's also Joseph Woll. Like, I think Stolarz was amazing last year. He was better than Joseph Woll, but Joseph Woll played more. Joseph Woll played 41 games last year. So you have to look at that and say part of the value here is the longevity that he had relative to Stolarz, who also played a career high. And sorry, Woll played 42 games, not 41. So he played over half the season. And he was solid. Like he wasn't incredible, but he did have incredible games. Like I look at he stole a game against Dallas. I think shots were like 39-16. I don't know if they got out of their zone in the second or third period in Edmonton. That game with like Corey Perry right in the slot at the very end of at the buzzer. Like Joseph Woll was amazing. He was the best player on the ice that game. That game against Colorado where the ref fell and Steven Lorentz scored shorthanded. Again, they didn't get out of their zone for half the game. Like like he it's you can always cherry pick games for like good players, but like those are like three high-end teams and Woll like straight up stole all three of them. Like James Reimer's not doing that. And I don't know how Anthony Stolarz is doing if you're asking him to play like 50 games. So, look, none of us have any idea of when Joseph Woll is returning. This could be like an absolute nothing burger by November 1st. It could be a nothing burger by American Thanksgiving. But, the longer it goes and the less clarity we have and the more time that passes without him even like being with the organization, let alone ramping up, let alone playing in games, like it's a story because without him, if he were to miss like half the season, let's call it, or until Christmas, let's call it, like that drastically changes my outlook on the team for this season.
It's also like not only, as you mentioned, like, that was the strength of the team last season, arguably projects to be the strength of the team this season. It's a strength that they need to have based on the way the other parts of the team look. And it might be that the improved depth of lines up front helps them control the game better, but they were a terrible possession team last season and they
Awful.
leaned on their goaltenders to be really good in order to be effective. And we don't know if they're going to, I mean, I think maybe they're going to improve to some degree there because they just have fewer shifts from the bottom six that are completely useless. Maybe that's going to happen, but that's not a guarantee. And you are missing Mitch Marner. And again, like, I don't think he's someone who single-handedly moves the puck territorially, especially when Matthews and Nye should be able to fill in and whatever. We don't need to do the like Marner's gone talk too much. Matthews already put the kibosh on it.
No,
I'm
no,
just
but
saying
like
it's
objectively, like people are like, how are you going to fill 102 points? But filling the gap between your goaltending being elite to like middle of the pack, like 15, 16, is significantly harder than
oh
102 points. Like
100%.
it's not even in the ballpark.
It's yeah, it's that is worth dozens of goals. Like it just is, and it is in a very clear way that there's no two ways about it. Like
yeah,
the number of
like
shots come in, you save a certain percentage of the shots. Like if you are saving a much lower percentage of shots, they go in. Whereas if you're replacing a player, it's like, oh, this guy's taking this part of his role, this guy's taking that part of his role, this guy's getting good opportunities with Matthews. Like it's a little bit more vague exactly how that works. But if your goaltending sucks, it sucks and it shows up in like a glaring way.
and if Woll isn't there to carry a significant portion of the mail, which he did last year, and Stolarz as a result has to play more, and then because of that does not play as well. Like I don't want to make this like a doomsday dramatic thing. Like I said, this could be a complete
Yeah,
nothing
we just
burger.
don't
But
know
but this is the
realistically.
biggest story. We have no clue when this guy's coming back. There's been no clarity. I understand, respect his privacy. I'm not saying to not do any of those things. Like they absolutely should. I'm not questioning what it is. I'm not questioning why he's not here. But I'm just saying for the outlook of the Toronto Maple Leaf season, like that, like this one really concerns me. Like this, I was looking forward to this season. I was sitting there going like, full year of Brandon Carlo, a lot of things we've talked about. Full year of Brandon Carlo, deeper, like hopefully Matthews is healthy, like their goaltending tandem is sick. And but like without that key ingredient, now I look and go like, uh-oh, like this is significant. And it's so far a year where Alexander Barkov is out for the year. Matthew Tkachuk is out until Christmas. Andrei Vasilevsky, I think, has been on the ice once in training camp for Tampa. Like that's quietly a story because I'll tell you right now, Tampa's going absolutely nowhere without Andrei Vasilevsky, like nowhere. And it's like, and people are like pumping up the Habs who like also couldn't get out of their zone last year and just got like younger and more experienced, so inexperienced. And like, I don't know, like people think like Ottawa is like ready to take a further step when they look like pretty well maxed out to me in terms of what they are, unless Dylan Cousins takes a big step forward or Shane Pinto. So I don't know, like the division's kind of wide open to me and for the taking, but the absence of Woll, if it's just a month, I don't really think that changes anything. They have three back-to-backs in October. I think James Reimer is more than capable of coming in for like 3 or 4 games in October and spelling off Stolarz and et cetera, et cetera. But like I said, if this is like months on end and it's like where's Waldo, then yeah, it's just concerning. But again, it's hard for us to talk about. So I think it's worth us flagging. I think this is a big story. I don't think it's getting nearly enough attention. I think the absence of him is significant.
I
I
think
think
it's just
people,
not being talked about because people, again, kind of all the things we've said, people don't have the answers. So they're not really telling people what's going on because they don't know and they don't want to say, oh, this is a big deal or this isn't a big deal because they could be totally wrong about that. And that's kind of part of what we're saying too. Like this could be one of the
yeah,
biggest deals of the season. It could be absolutely nothing. But like you said, it doesn't mean
like
that it shouldn't be flagged because there is that range of outcomes and there is that possibility that it's a real game changer.
home ice advantage, or sorry, Joseph Woll all year, if like he was playing right now and this like and these guys were like cruising into the season, everybody good to go right now, I would say home ice advantage round one. That's what I think of this team in the regular season and like what they should be able to accomplish. Without him, it's hard to know, but like now I'm trending towards wild card. Like still should make it. Wild card could be starting on the road. Could you potentially be in the crossover division? Like that, and that's on like a I don't know what 2 3 month absence. And then if it's like all year, then it's like okay, well, all right, like now what? So like it's a pretty, like we're gonna spend a bunch of time now arguing about like the 12th and 13th forward and like the sixth defenseman, but like we're talking about a goalie that should be playing 50% of their games and he's not even here. Like it's not like he's practicing and just like can't play right now. Like he's not here. He is out of sight, out of mind. Like it's the biggest thing happening right now with this team. I think it's the biggest story. I think it's a weird one to talk about because we just obviously don't know what's going on or when he'll be back. And I'll, put the a millionth caveat of again, could be a nothing burger in a month from now, but until we know, we don't, and that's concerning to me.
Okay,
But
let's talk about the guys who are
preseason,
here. So I think sort of, I don't know, maybe the biggest news around what the projected lineup is, and we don't know exactly. Luke Fox and some other people are putting out what the lines were on Monday, which, to be fair, do look like the lines that the Leafs are planning to roll with. You're talking about, Nyes, Matthews, Domi, McMahon, Tavares, Nylander, Joshua, Waugh, Maccelli, Lorentz, Lawton, Cowan, and then Cowan is the one that's interesting because I think heading into camp, that's not what people expected to happen. They figured that a stint in the AHL was the most logical move for him. And then there's always the opportunity to come up very briefly, but he really genuinely seems to have impressed Craig Berube. Like the quotes that come out of Berube, who is not always effusive with his praise, they've been, pretty strong for Cowan. And you don't think of that for a guy who's undersized too. Like Berube likes his size. And I'm not saying that Cowan is
he's not
going to
even that
play.
undersized. He's like 200 pounds, like 6 foot.
Yeah, but like he's
Like
not
he's
like a
not big,
big
but
he's
he's
not a
not
big bruiser,
but he's not
like
small.
no, but that Berube loves like his Nyes and his McMahon, you know what I mean? Like those are the guys he
Don't we
tends to
all?
compliment. Well, yeah. Well, I'm a McMahon guy, as we know. I'll put planted my flag in that.
Big
Uh,
Pontus Holmberg guy too.
yeah. And then the defense core is exactly what we saw in the past. It's McCabe Tanev, it's Carlo Riley, it's Ekman Larson, Benoit at the moment. When you see that lineup on paper, again, yeah, I guess Cowan is the guy who's a surprise to some degree, but the way it all lines up, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's no real surprises in the top nine. It's the exact top nine that I had when, just rummaging around line combinations all summer. It was the one that I just constantly kept coming back to because it makes everyone's like in the right spot, so to speak. Like I see people say like put Domi on the third line. You can't put Domi on the third line. Like the
No,
purpose of that
absolutely
line
no.
is a defensive zone start checking line. Like you're never looking at Max Domi and saying, "Hey, why don't you take defensive zone draws on your off wing against Braden Point, Jake Gensel, and Nikita Kucherov?" Or, well, now it won't be Barkov, but like whoever that line is going to be, Lundell, Reinhart, and Verhage. Like you're never looking at like that might work against Ottawa with like Dylan Cousins. No offense to him. I'm not trying to pick on him this episode. But like, he's a fine player, but like it's nothing crazy. And like or like Buffalo with the guy he was traded for, Josh Norris. Like, look, be like, all right, like take some D zone draws against those guys. Fair enough. But not against the top teams. And we talked about this throughout the summer, throughout last year. It's like they had this third line that was able to do some things last year, the Domi Robertson McMahon line, against terrible teams. Like they pretty much scored all their goals against like Buffalo, the Islanders, Columbus. Like you go through like the damage they were doing was against teams that we didn't see play past like April 14th or whatever it was. That is what that line will be with Max Domi there. It will be a pointless line. On the flip side, Domi actually looks pretty good on the top line. Like we haven't seen it this preseason, but him and Matthews have actually shown that they have some chemistry together and can make things work. And even the one preseason game we saw, I know he was playing center and with Nyes and Robertson, but him and Nyes had a few little give and goes and plays. Like you could see them working off each other. And I just I look at Domi and say, like, if you watched Maccelli in the first game, I know he picked up a few points, but there were a few sequences where him and Matthews ran into each other at the top of the zone, which was funny because Matthews kind of like, where are you going? Like, I'm Austin Matthews. Like, don't be up here. Uh, and you could see like Maccelli trying to like figure out like where to go and like what to do. And like he didn't want to step on toes, but like he wanted to like make plays. And like he was thinking about what to do more than he was playing and just like doing what he needed to do. And then when he played with McMahon in the second preseason game in Montreal, I thought Maccelli was like unreal. Like he had the puck on his stick like all night. Like he was dictating things. He was like, all right, like I'm playing with this guy who basically just shoots the puck and skates fast. So I can do everything else with the puck and just set him up appropriately. And he did. And he looked like they looked really good together. I banked that one as like a thought for later on in the year. They
I was
stylistically make
Yeah, I
sense.
was thinking that same thing. Like that was a combo that I found really intriguing. Like you can put McMahon on the off wing and just have him fire
Yeah.
and have Maccelli set him up. I mean, some of the Maccelli talk on Twitter and stuff, I thought it got a little bit hyperbolic, especially because he had that game where he had 2 assists and they were both, I think actually all 4 of his assists were secondary assists, but the two
I-
of them, like he was a secondary assist, but they were both on give and goes that he wasn't involved in. And I'm like,
yeah.
okay, guys, relax. And then he did
I,
have the nice bank pass, and then he had the hustle play on the other assists. So like fair enough, like credit
I
to him.
actually felt bad for him. Like hearing people go off, I'm like, the expectations are just like, calm down. Like he's not even getting 80 points this year. Like I'm sorry, he's not. Like,
Well, not
but
even. I mean, that would be a
like no,
crazy
that's a
season.
ton. That's a ton of points. But like I say not even because people are like, oh, like the Mitch replacement's here. It's like he's not even going to be within like 25 points of Marner, of
No.
like what
And but
Marner did
like
last year. And he doesn't have to be, but like let's not put that on him.
if he
But
was, then Utah wouldn't have just been letting him go for basically nothing. You know what I mean? Like he was
yeah,
that kind of player who could basically just step in and do like a B plus Marner impression, then he wouldn't be
and
available.
and
Like there
neither will Domi, but what I find with Domi is he has this like irrational confidence. You know, like he fancies himself as like a high-end like talent player
he
that should be
remembers that
playing.
70-point season.
Yeah.
He won't forget it. He's like, I'm that guy.
Yeah, like he like there's a little bit of like a swagger and like a cockiness to him that's like probably misplaced if we're being honest, given he had like 8 goals and like 33 points last year, which is not good. Um, but like it actually kind of works for him in that spot because he like almost it's like almost as if he has the audacity to make plays with Matthews as if he is that like high end like playmaking kind of guy. So in a weird way it works because as long as you can get Matthews the puck in basically any vicinity whatsoever, you're gonna just pile up points. Like it's just like it's not a
It's so
crazy
weird to
hard
have
thing
a
to do.
player where it's like, oh, we got to put him on the first line because he doesn't fit any other role. And
No,
like,
like he
but that's sort of where they are with Domi. Like, there just isn't
it,
another role that makes sense for him on the team. And that's why I'm happy that Berube saw it this way because I could have envisioned a world where he just didn't feel like he could put him on a line that was going to take on defensive responsibility and just didn't trust him and dumped him on some super, I don't know, sheltered, shitty fourth line or
it
something. And I do feel pretty confident that this is the best way to go. Like there might be some moments along the way that don't make folks happy, but I like the Matthews Domi combination, and I do think that you like this looks pretty good to me. And like, when I look at this forward group, like this does look like the way it's going to be. Like McMahon and
it
Maccelli, that is an interesting combo. Maybe Joshua bumps up at some point to just do some hard work if they think that that's maybe in a specific matchup or he just gets hot or something and you want to reward him.
or
I could
just to
see him.
change the speed,
Yeah,
like that third line might be a little bit slow with Waugh
fair.
and Joshua. And like Michelli's not slow, but he plays slow. Like he tries to
Yeah,
slow the
he
game
circles
down.
back a lot. Like there's some moments in some of these preseason games I'm like, Bure fucking hated that. Like I think it
Oh
was in
yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
Montreal game where he like circled back in his own zone and then passed a backhand pass to
Yeah.
absolutely nobody. And then they got the puck back and then he did it again and he fired off a stretch like kind of an inaccurate stretch pass that ended up getting deflected into the zone. I was like, Bure absolutely hated that. Like he had the puck and he could have just easily carried it up and he's just doing this kind of nonsense. And yeah, I think there's some nonsense in his game. Like that's the reality of that. That's part of why things kind of fell apart for him a little bit last year. But I don't know. I like watching him play. I like he's got some creativity. He's got some vision. So, you know,
He had
fair enough.
a sequence on the power play where he like went downhill and he hit the knob and it was like a good shot. And then he probably had that opportunity like 3 more times on that exact power play. And every other time he just like went downhill and then looked to make a pass. And then eventually just threw a terrible one to the point that like exited the zone clean for the Habs. And that was the kind of thing I was watching going, Burby's probably sitting there like, how did you not take like 5 shots on net? Like that's the kind of stuff. that will drive him insane. And the kind of things we talked about, right? If he's overpassing and this, that, whatever. But yeah, no, I like him. We've talked about him a million times. I think as you go through it, I'm a little bit, and we'll get to Cowan in the fourth line. But I am a little bit disappointed we didn't see like other looks. Like we never saw Matthews with Nylander. We didn't see like Knies with Tavares or like anything really. It was basically the exact lineup I thought it was going to be. Like we said a million times, like Bobby McMahon was very much a victim of circumstance last year. Like he was genuinely good beside Tavares and Nylander, and that line has like a 2-year sample of ice time together where they've won their minutes like across the board and been good. Like we know that it works. But their third line was so bad last year that they basically looked at McMahon like, if you're not there, it's terrible. It's like Holmberg, Domi, and Robertson, and it's like the worst thing. So you kind of have to eat it. And now that they don't have such a bad third line anymore, they're like, perfect, you're going to go up. And I get it. But we haven't, it's like we didn't see like Lawton with Waugh and like move up the lineup or like anything that I would deem like interesting that has potential. We basically didn't see. Like the only reason we saw Maccelli even play with Matthews and Nye is because Domi was hurt. The only reason we're seeing actual righties play with Ekman-Larsson is because Benoit's hurt. But I guarantee when Benoit's back, he's going to get walked right back up to that pairing and somehow play the right side. And everyone's just like sitting there going like, this is okay. Like Simon Benoit can play right defense in the NHL for 82
Oh,
games in the playoffs. Like,
that's
and I like
that's a
Benoit.
dicey proposition.
I like Benoit. This is not a knock on that guy. I think that guy has tons of spirit. I think he'll work his ass off to try to figure out a solution to it. Like, I never bet against that guy straight up, but let's also be honest about that. Like that pairing, they lost their minutes in the playoffs, and that was with Benoit playing out of his mind, and Ekman-Larsson popped a few goals himself. Like, and they still lost their minutes at 5-on-5. Like they couldn't get out of their zone for long stretches. The team itself couldn't get out. Like they weren't a microcosm of it because it's the third pairing, so they're not prominent enough to be the microcosm of it. But they contributed. Like you weren't like, oh wow, the third pairing's on. Like they'll get out of their zone for this shift. It was like, oh, more of this. So, I find that concerning. And then there's Cowan. So, which I think is worthy of discussion. I like Cowan. I think he's good. I think if you look at the other options right now, Nick Robertson and Calle Jarnkrok, and said which is the best option for that line, I do agree that it's Cowan. I think Cowan is good to play with for those guys because he has vision and he's crafty and creative and he helps move the puck around and connect plays and transforms them from just like two guys that cycle and can play the walls and Lawton and Lorentz to something that's a little bit more creative and has some like potential offensive juice. I, Whereas I think someone like Robertson just shoots the puck blindly. And it works for him to some degree because he has a good shot.
If you're gonna shoot the puck blindly, like he's the guy to do it.
Yeah, but it's like you look at his goal in preseason against Ullmark in Ottawa, and you're like, that's the dumbest shot. Like you're just like you were basically at the boards, and you're just like, I'm gonna rip a one-timer and let's see what happens. And it works once in a while, which is great, and it worked there. But in terms of like actually making plays and like connecting with your line mates and like doing things, like it's dumb. Like you just like it's just like here's this guy that just it's like constantly head down and shoot the puck. And I think that's hard to play with as line mate. And like if anyone's ever played hockey and you're listening, like this. Like if you just like here's this guy, he's basically just gonna shoot the puck. He's never gonna make a pass. He's basically just hunting around head down and just gonna tune it up to the net. That's hard to play with. And then he also add in the struggles defensively. So this isn't a knock on Cowan, but it is to say I don't think that this is good for his development. Like he's gonna play like 11 minutes a night. He's not gonna get on the power play. He's obviously not touching the first unit, and people will be like, oh, the second unit. I'm telling you, he's not. It doesn't make any sense. Nick Waugh is gonna play in front. Bobby McMahon is really good in the bumper, like really good. Like Bobby McMahon had 20 goals last year in the league. Like he was really good there in the minors. He's really good there in the NHL. And then he's not touching the half wall over Maccelli or Domi. If one of those guys are missing, yeah, he should. But those guys are both making over $3 million. Like to your earlier point, like Domi has a 70-point season in the league. Like Maccelli had what, like close to 120 points or 110 or whatever it was in his first 2 years in the league. Like, and they just traded for him. Like those guys are going to play the half wall. And so I look at that and say, like, how are you developing him? You're basically just playing him with two grinders, which is better than the two grinders they usually had there the past few years, which is Kampf and Reeves. Like that was untenable.
There's
Like
a
that's a
huge,
non
yeah, there's a
that
huge
yeah,
difference between playing on a fourth line with Lawton and with Kampf.
yeah.
Like that's a totally different proposition.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that I can squint at and say, well, at least that's good. But the rest of it to me is not good. Like it's not enough ice time. It's not enough touches. It's not enough prominence. He hasn't shown that he can he hasn't played a game in the AHL. Like Nikita Kucherov started in the A. Like he had 24 points in like 18 games or something, and then they brought him up and that was the end of it. Like William Nylander played like a full year in the AHL. Like Nylander and Kucherov, but you're telling me Easton Cowan is okay to just bypass the American League at 20 entirely to play on a fourth line with zero power play time. And people still argue this. Like, I can't believe this argument still happens in the year 2025. Like, that's not the best route for his development. The only reason it was okay with Nyes is because Nyes was like a man child when he walked into the league. He played on the third line in an actual scoring role. And pretty much halfway through the year, not even that actually, by the time they went to that Europe trip, he was already in Sweden. He was already taking shifts on the top line. Like a completely different ballpark of player. So I don't know. Like I get it in the sense that I think he's the best option for that line.
Yeah,
I
I
don't,
think that
but I don't think
today,
it's gonna help him.
in terms of the Toronto Maple Leafs, what makes the team the best it can possibly be, it is probably him on that fourth line. Kind of for the reasons he said. I do think he brings more creativity. Like, when you're talking about Lorentz and Lawton, like that combo has some chemistry, but it doesn't have a lot of creativity, doesn't have a ton of juice. Although, got to give Lawton some credit for that big performance. And it was a bit of a reminder that he's an actual player and not
Lawton's like
just like
actually good. Like I hope
yeah, that he's
people
not like an absolutely like nothing dude. That being said, like it makes them very, very slightly better. Like if you put Jarnkrok in there, like maybe they're
yeah, it
worse,
does.
but like they're not that much worse. Not an amount that's going to move the needle. And with Cowan, I think
I
to
think
some
Cowan is better than Robertson, like already, just because again the way that he plays the game, by like stylistically, I
well,
think he's a better.
Robertson's just so limited in what he
But
does.
who do you think would score more goals? Like if you were like, here's 82 games
Oh, him or
this year.
Jarnkrok?
No, Robertson or Cowan
Oh,
this
well,
year.
Robertson,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
But
like
Robertson doesn't really play 82 games. That's not how it works.
no, but yeah. So okay, say 65 games with like 10 healthy scratches. Robertson might lead the team in scoring if you get it up to 15 healthy scratches and
Well, if you
scratch
can
and
really
scores.
just toggle it correctly, where you go
But
scratch, no scratch, that's how you get
uh,
him to score 41.
all that to say is like the splitting of hairs here is like to I think is what you were saying, right? With like Jarnkrok or Robertson, it's like those guys will contribute. They're not black
Yeah,
holes.
I actually haven't hated Jarnkrok in the preseason. Like he's been saying about how he's
He's
healthier. Like, he scored that goal, making a move to the net that was more aggressive than what we've seen from him for a lot of last year when he wasn't healthy. Again, he's not a favorite of
it,
mine. I do think that players who can do a lot of things and don't necessarily do them well are often overrated. And I think that he has been one of those guys at times. But I also think, yeah, like we're talking about the fourth line right winger. And yeah, I think
I like that he's right-handed because they lack them. And
sure.
you could convince me of a world where if Maccelli got going and like settled in and was playing with Matthews and Nyes, that the third line checking line would be better served with Jarnkrok there and Wah and Joshua. Like they wouldn't score much of anything, but they would be like a genuinely annoying line to play against if you're a good team.
I guess, but I think kind of the hope for this season is that you get something from these bottom lines, a little bit
Yeah,
of punch, right?
I still
Like
think
that's
they'd
what they've been
score a little
missing.
bit. Like Jarnkrok will hit his double digits in goals if he's playing regularly. So will Wall.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I
they won't be
mean,
nothing.
It won't be absolutely nothing. No, they won't be like a functional fourth line who's labeled as the third line. Like they would score the occasional goal. But I like on Cowan, I just feel like you're getting an incremental early upgrade. And to me, I don't know, maybe this is they're just so desperate for that upgrade that they're very much focused on the present, and that's the heads and tails of it. That's all of it.
That
But it does say to me that that maybe they don't hold Cowan in that high of regard because they don't see him as that guy who needs to play on the first line in the AHL and log every power play minute, and that his future is more of like a third line type of player, a bottom six player, and that
I
trying to
hope they don't
groom
think
him to be
that.
a guy he'll never be maybe isn't that useful compared to what he can do today.
I don't think they should think that. I like he's like genuinely good on the power play. Like what like when he has the puck on the half wall, I'm like he's actually good. Like his vision and the way he moves it, it's like that the goal to Bobby McMahon, like if you watch like Cowan wasn't like he was looking completely elsewhere when he made that pass to McMahon. Like Cowan ripped apart the like junior for 2 years. Like that
But if
well,
they thought
I'm
he
not
was
saying
as
he's gonna
good,
be I'm not saying he's gonna be like a stud or like a guaranteed top six forward, but I'm just saying like I if they look at that and they're like this guy's like a third or fourth liner, like immediately at 20, I would be disappointed.
but if they felt like he was nice, they would. I think they would treat him differently. Like I think the way he's being treated reflects how he's seen in the organization. Like if he was seen as a surefire top six type of guy, I just don't think you do this. I think you'd be dumb to do this.
I think I think that they're looking at it and saying this is the best possible version of our team right this second. And that's it. Like I don't think there's any other depth beyond that. They're like, we're taking the 12 best. This is the
Maybe,
12 best.
but you
Whereas
don't have a boatload of prospects. Like you
I
should
know.
care about the
I
prospects when you only have like
I
a couple
agree.
that are any good. Like you
That
should care about their development.
that's my concern there. I'm sitting there and honestly, if you've been a Leaf fan for like more than like 5 years, you should know this movie a million times over. They just rush guys right up. Everyone like loses their mind. I'm gonna have people telling me that like practice is okay. Like he's practicing with the NHLers, like he'll develop. That's not how you develop. I promise you it's not how you develop. Like watching Matthews torch guys in practice is not how you develop. Like you develop by actually playing pro hockey games consistently. You stack up good game after good game in an actual league against other grown men playing big minutes in all sorts of situations. Like NHL is not a development league. Like Cowan's not going to be on when like they need a goal in the final minute. Like he's not going to be on when they're defending in the final few minutes. Like he's basically just taking filler shifts in this role. Like I could be wrong. Like maybe he moves up. I just don't see it. I think if they start off well and they have a pretty easy schedule to start the year with a ton of home games, and Cowan's playing like 10, 11 minutes a night with the odd pop in of a goal or that line scores or whatever the case is, at, as long as they're winning, like I don't think Berube will change it. Like I don't think he's going to sit there and be like Cowan's not playing enough. And I don't know if Tree Living is going to sit there and be like I need to like actually make like this managerial decision for the outlook of everything. Like I'd rather Cowan just go down to the A, play like 15 games, and if he has like 20 points, I'd be like perfect, bring him up. It's done. Like clearly he's way better than that league
I
kind of
mean,
thing.
also it's not necessarily forever too. Like we often treat the opening day lineup as if it like this is what's going to be all season long. Like there is a world where he later goes down or he goes up and down. I'm not saying that's the best trajectory, but it's not written in stone. Like he's going to be the fourth line right winger for the entirety of the season. I think you're right in that I think his minutes and the way he's deployed is not going to be a priority compared to winning games. Like, and
No.
that to be fair, that's not where the team is,
At,
right? Like the
at
team isn't some
wait,
shit team that needs to be 100% focused on the development path of guys, but it does seem like there's a middle path here, and this is a I don't know, extreme sounds a bit like maybe more
I,
critical than I want to be, but it does feel like a little bit of an intense way to go about it.
I I
Again,
think
when we're
that's
talking about
I think
fourth line.
that's part of the equation too of what you just said, right? Like this is a veteran team that's trying to win right now. Like they're not going to care about like getting him touches and getting him looks and like they're not going to sit there and be like, "Oh man, Cowan hasn't played in like 10 minutes." And like they're just going to be like, "We're trying to win a hockey game right now." Like that's where they're at. Like this isn't San Jose. Like we're not sitting here saying like, well, let's try Cowan with the goal he pulled and see how it goes. It's going to be like you sit on the bench and you watch the other guys go and you put your arm out for props on the train if they score and tie the game. Or you take the shift after the empty net goal when the game's over and we artificially up your ice time. That's basically it. Like I don't like again, if you think he's like a third or fourth liner as maybe as I don't know if you think that personally or the way that you potentially laid out how they view him. But if that's how you view him, then great.
I mean, to be
This
honest,
is
I
great.
think it's too early. It's way too early to say. Like I can't give you a confident like I'd like to see, for instance, him in the AHL. I think that would be really helpful in terms of making that
Yes.
determination, right? Like I'm not here saying I confidently believe like he's a third line player or whatever it is. I guess if you had to chart out some range of outcomes of his entire career, this is what everyone has been saying is like middle six type of forward. And I don't think he's done anything that would make you radically change that yet. But again, we're gonna find out to some degree, but we probably won't find out too much from him playing with Lot and the Rents. I will say that there is a world, and I don't think this is how it's going to play out, but there is a world where he does end up moving up the lineup because you talk about like
Yeah.
what is the weakness of this team theoretically in the forward group. It is the wingers outside of Nyes and Nylander, and so like Domi can struggle. Maccelli could encounter some of the issues he had in Utah. Like Bobby McMahon, as much as I personally like him, like he had that massive slump at the end of last season. I don't think that's going to happen again, but you never know. Like he could start on the fourth line and he could work his way up and end up in a prominent role. Like that's not impossible as well. He's not doomed to this fate if he's with the big team.
It it's definitely not impossible. I will say that I think that Maccelli, McMahon, really it's Maccelli and Domi. Like he can't like he
He
might
doesn't do the things McMahon
yeah,
does.
he might provide more offensively than McMahon, but he doesn't do the things that McMahon does. And that's what that line needs, which I'm
But
glad
like
more
both
people are starting to
Maccelli
catch
and
on.
Domi could simultaneously flame out. Like
They could. They
I
could have.
don't think that that's what's going to happen, but like that's on
If
the table
it is, I just think that they're going to give them a lot of rope.
for sure. And they
Like,
should. That both
yeah,
those guys deserve some rope.
yeah, like they're going to get like 10, 15. They should anyway. People freak out if they're bad for like the first 5 games, but I would give them rope and be patient, which is hard to do in this market. Like people talk about it and they're like, yeah, I'd be patient. And then it's like the second game and they suck both games. And it's like, torch them, healthy, like all these things, wave them. So everyone, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, basically. So, yeah, all that to say is, like I could be projecting a little bit in terms of how I think it's going to go with Cowan, which is to say, like not playing a ton, not a lot of power play time, probably locked into that fourth line look. Maybe that won't be the case. Maybe he'll move up the lineup. Maybe they'll find him extra ice time. Maybe they'll, do those other things to help get him involved. That is my concern. It's not to say that I think he's you know, with Jarnkrok on that line, like I think they're a diligent checking line, but I think they're pretty limited offensively. And like I said with Robertson, like I think he'd score more than Cowan. I just think that he's hard to play with because he just shoots the puck and doesn't really think anything through.
I also
So
think both Lorentz and Lawton look for their own shot. Like I don't think
for
someone
sure they
is
do.
setting him up if Robertson's on that line.
Yeah, like Robertson and Domi like quasi worked because all Domi looks to do is pass and all Robertson looks to do is shoot. But like for most like players that play a bit more of like, we'll just call it a normal style of hockey, like it just doesn't make any sense, right? Like, no, don't take one-timers from the boards and like, pass it to teammates once in a while and like fake a shot and dish it or something, right? Like, that's the stuff like Robertson never got really developed in his game. And like we talk about guys in the AHL, it's like Robertson got yo-yoed around so much, like people talk about him not meeting his potential, but like, what about all those times that he wasn't ready in the NHL, but he was practicing and watching other guys be good at hockey on the bench? Like, did that serve him well? Like, did Robertson, really put it together? Like, he's 24 now, which is like surprising to me. Um, And he looks like, yeah, because they jerked him around, and I don't know if they ruined him per se, but like they didn't develop him properly. They didn't bring him up as a finished product. It was like a fingers crossed, this works, and we'll see how it goes. And really, that was the end of it. And this is the product we have, where it's like 24 years old and people are ready to drive him to the airport. But this is how they developed him, right? It's like we even look at Dennis Hildeby last year. It's like he started last year with the Leafs, and it threw off his whole year. Like he wasn't playing. He didn't get into a flow. He wasn't as good with the Marlies. Like in their elimination game last year, in a 3-game playoff series, he didn't even start both games. Like they started Matt Murray, and he didn't get off to a proper start. He was up with the Leafs. That at least was because of injury. But then he didn't play. Then he finally went down. It's like the number of guys, like you can look almost immediately at the Leafs and just start flagging guys that were rushed. Like the number of guys that get rushed and then, ultimately end up having problems in translating whatever their talents are to the NHL is a countless list. Countless. Eternity. The number of guys who went down to the American League promptly, played really well in that league to prove without a doubt that they belong in the NHL, then got called up and then continued to translate that, it's a much higher percentage of developing a player going that path than, hey, I hope this guy does well on our fourth line in limited minutes and not playing any situational hockey whatsoever on our veteran team that's currently trying to win right this second. So
I
I
do
don't know.
like Cowan's chances to succeed better than Robertson's in the sense that he's a more complete, heady type of player. And so, like, I don't think he's necessarily going to
Yeah, he's
stall out in the
bigger.
same way.
He's bigger. I think he's smarter. Like
Yeah.
there's a number of things. It's not like a like for like comparison. Like it's not saying these are the exact two same players and this is how it's going to play out again. It's to say like there's a million examples of guys like this that get rushed up. And like Tree Living did it with Sam Bennett in Calgary. They rushed him. And then he struggled there for a really long time. And then they traded him for pennies on the dollar. And then he watched Bennett on Florida knock his Leafs teams out and toy with them physically, right? Like, you have to be an exceptional, exceptional player in my mind to go from playing in the OHL for multiple years after getting, playing in the OHL after getting drafted straight to the NHL with 0 AHL time. Like you have to be, to me, like that's an exceptional player. Like you're really good. You should be like an all-star caliber player to make that jump. And you're wondering if he's a third or fourth liner right now. Like that's a gap to me. Like what's the harm if he goes down there and he has 20 and 15? And you're like, all right. I don't
And
know
they
what the harm
have,
is.
it's also like it's not like they don't have options. Like, as much as this, we spend a decent amount of time kind of shitting on Robertson here, but like they do have Robertson. He's a
For
player they
sure.
can use. They do have Jarnkrok. He's a player they could use. They do have Kampf, and they could have Lawton play a wing somewhere. Like, it's not like there's nothing
Robertson
there.
was born for October hockey. Oh my God. October hockey, a bunch
Well,
of
he might
home
have been born
games.
for September hockey, to be
Oh,
honest,
like that is bread and butter. He might have 5 and 10 to start the year. Like
as he
it
tries
just
to get traded to another team.
100%. Absolutely what he tries to do, but I don't care. I'll take it. It's like people are just like, I see people all the time. It's like, will Robertson ever take the next step? And I'm kind of shrugging. Like, I don't care if he does actually. Like, if he plays 11 minutes a night and gets 15 goals, like, did we watch what Ryan Reeves did for his time here? Have we watched David Kampf? Like, Pontus Holberg had 7 goals. I think one was the own goal that Jordan Stahl scored. I think 3 were empty netters. It's like Robertson can actually shoot a puck past a goalie in the net. If he's just playing 11 minutes and he gets 15 goals and whatever, like it's a significant upgrade on what they've been running to date. Like even if he's nothing ever more than that, if that's just his absolute max. So yeah, I don't know. And then just like quickly, like going through some of like the depth guys, I thought Henry Thrun was really bad in his first game. Threw a pizza the first shift, like he really struggled. And then funny enough, he played right D the second game in Montreal. I thought he was actually really good. Like he jumped up into the play a number of times. I liked his movement on the power play goal where Lawton like threw it from the half wall and it went off Lorentz's leg and in. It was like just the way Thrun kind of cut through the middle and like moved off the puck. Like you can see like he has a good head for the game. He was able to like get pucks out cleanly on his right side. I didn't think he'd have any right D capacity at all. So to see that was interesting. I'm not saying like steal a spot from a guy interesting, but I liked his second game. I'd like to see a third. I
Guys
think
get
my
hurt. You know,
yeah,
it's a relatively old defense core. Like I think it's safe to feel like there could be a moment for him at some point.
I think Myers has actually been quite good both games. Like he played with Thrun the first game, and like we said, Thrun kind of struggled. And I thought Myers actually did a really good job of kind of like bailing him out, so to speak. You know, like he did well in those circumstances to just kind of like cover for him. He played like almost 25 minutes the second game in Montreal. Like he's just we know what he is. Like he's big, he gets in the way, but like he wasn't doing anything crazy with the puck. Like I liked him. I thought Benning has actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like Benning looked more credible than I expected for a guy who hasn't really been playing at the level so much.
He just hasn't been healthy, right? Like keep beating this drum. Like he didn't play his way out of the league. He got injured and it hurt his ability to play hockey. And that's why he didn't play. So, like two very different things. And that was it. But he looks like healthy. He looks solid. Like he's a no frills player. But I would feel fine if he was taking third line shifts. You know, I don't think anyone has leapt off the page where it's like Simon Benoit, like you should be nervous. But I think those three guys have all had their moments to the point where I'm like, Benoit, if you don't play well, someone else should be there for your spot. Like
Yeah,
if
I
you
don't think
can't,
Benoit should have sort of an unimpeachable hold on his job, especially if he's
he
going to be on
shouldn't.
the right side where he might end up looking uncomfortable and struggle to move the puck or even keep it in on the other end. And that might preclude him a little bit from some of the more adventurous stuff that he did, was kind of funny at the end of last year, but also quasi effective as well. And I'm not sure if he'll have the same comfort level on the other side to do some of that. Uh, so yeah, no, I could definitely imagine him at some point losing a grip on his job, and that's more about the handedness. Chances are, it's not that again, he's not an NHL caliber defenseman, or he couldn't be in somebody's top six, but just with the fits that they have, he might not end up fitting at the end of the day. There's also, a fairly decent chance there's some kind of mid-season acquisition, right? Like it's always made the most sense for it to be McCabe, Riley, Ekman Larson, and then Tanev, Carlo, and then some right-handed defenseman. The Leafs should feel good about the depth they have. Like nobody's got an awesome 7, 8, 9 defenseman. Nobody's got absolute studs lined up there. That's not the way it works. There just isn't that, that would be a very bizarre way to build a team if you had 8 incredible defensemen and 2 of them never play. But in terms of the guys that they have, like they have some options that they don't have to feel terrified about.
Yeah, like I also like Dakota Mermis. I think he moves around really well. He adds a little bit of an offensive out. He's not like a big point producer, but with his skating and puck movement, like he helps create offensive looks up the ice and he'll join the rush and he's not shy and he'll shoot pucks on net. That's four guys that we just listed, plus the six. So I don't look at any of those guys and say like, sweet, if they're up into the top four, like that's fine. But I look at those four guys and say like, if any of them have to play on the third pairing, I actually wouldn't be like too concerned about it.
No, and I think chances are any of those guys are going to get, a 2 game run here when somebody gets a bump or there. It's not necessarily they're going to be needed for some massive stretch of time. It's just like, here's
Yeah.
a road trip where Ekman Larson's not available. All
Yeah.
right, get in there.
Yeah. So that part was good. At forward, we've talked a lot about Cowan. I'm optimistic for him. I hope that they manage it well on the development side. Like I thought Jacob Quillan was quote unquote fine, but he didn't do much of anything where I'm like, good player ready to play in the NHL. I was just like, I see ish why they like him, but he did get cleaned out a few times defensively in the faceoff circle and kind of like lost his man. The one goal against Ottawa was just really bad. Like he got torched in the faceoff and then lost Ridley Gregg in front for no reason. It's like that's what you would be in the NHL. Like you're not a top six center. Like you would be a defensive checking line center. Like you can't just get cleaned out on the draw and then completely lose the guy that cleaned you out and watch him score on an empty net within
It's
five
not
seconds. Like that's your job. I look at Haymes and I'm like, I like him with the puck. I like him on the walls. I don't really think he's a center, but they keep playing him at center. It's fine if you're going to try to develop a guy at center. I just don't really see it. I'm just like, I think this is a left winger. I think you're just like a left winger with like a good shot that can like work the walls a little bit.
there's just
And
like there's no urgency with him, so it's like they might as well try to do
sure,
this until
yeah,
they feel like it hits a wall. And
yeah,
he is one of their higher upside guys, so why not hit the highest upside? But like,
yeah.
yeah, we'll see what
I,
happens in a year and a half, 2 years.
I have no issue with it. I just don't really see it right now. So I guess we'll track how that kind of progresses. And then you kind of like look through. It's like I don't think Pezzetta has done anything to stand out. I thought that he would cause more of a ruckus. I actually thought it would have been a tone setter for him to like really go after someone against his old team. And instead, I thought he was kind of calm. Like Cowan got boarded from behind, and then Pezzetta, to his credit, like he did throw a questionable hit on a defenseman against Montreal later. I forget who it was, and he did like hurt him. Like that guy was feeling it. But he didn't go after Florian Jackeye for that boarding on Cowan, which I thought was garbage. And, nothing happened to, I think it was Laurent Dauphin, that ran into Stolarz. And like, you could be like, well, it was like a little bit incidental, and I'm sure he didn't mean it. Like, we're actually beyond that point now. It doesn't matter if someone means to run into Stolarz. Like, if Stolarz gets touched, like that has to be addressed. Like that's the bottom line. Like he can't, like no one should ever be allowed to touch him.
And when
And
you're when you're literally the 0 point man, like
like
this,
that's your
it's
job. Like
incumbent on you to
it,
be
it
that guy.
it's literally your job. Like that is your job. Like I'm sorry if you don't like it, but that is your job. If you don't like it, then I think there is a big gap in between what you think you do here and what you need to do here. So, in that game, he didn't even play 9 minutes. He played a team low, like 8:53 or something like that. And so, yeah, I just look at him like, well, that's disappointing. Like you were, talking about coming back to your hometown and putting on the jersey and all that. And we're three preseason games in, and you just like you haven't really made your presence felt or like come out with your hair on fire. Like you finished some checks and you popped Ridley Gregg in the face, which I'm sure everybody enjoyed. But like it hasn't been, wow, this guy should be on the team, even as a 14th forward. Like
Yeah,
it's just
yeah. There's nothing really doing with him right now, and that doesn't mean that at some point injuries won't hit or whatever. But I don't know.
and then you have David Kampf, who like to me is just again like very much been like, man, like you're fighting for a spot. Like I don't think Dakota Joshua has looked particularly good. Like if you put Murphy on the back of his jersey and you didn't know that they just traded for him and you just watched that Murphy guy skating out there, the 3 games that he's played, you'd be like, that guy's not playing on the team or in the league. Like he hasn't like done anything. But like he is on the team and he is on the third line and like we know that. So Joshua can go at whatever pace he wants because he knows he's on the team. Kampf, although he is a veteran, is not on the team. He's not even in the PK duos in practice. Like he actually does have to come out and have a good camp. Like to your point about Jarnkrok, like I thought Jarnkrok came out the first game and was like, I'm the best player here. Like he was the best player for me on the ice for the Leafs in that game. It's like there's a bunch of young guys here, a bunch of Marlies. Like I'm clearly better than all of these players, and he played like it. Like Camp has not done that to me. He
I
was
mean, he's been
sleeping.
pretty invisible. And there's a version of Camp that's sort of a good invisible. But yeah, he's someone who's not just, I think, playing for a job in theory, although it just feels like Berube has kind of buried him in a general sense. But he's also someone who's playing for interest around the league. Like he would like probably someone to give him a chance elsewhere, trade for him or whatever. Like, because right now it just feels like he's, hey, just buried under a bunch of guys in Toronto. Nothing's going to happen for him.
Kampf is like the clear guy that should go. Like he's just making a lot of money. He signed for an additional year beyond this one. Like Jarnkrok doesn't bother me as much. Seems like he's again, they don't have any righties. Like they have none. Like Nylander, Nick Waugh. That's it. Like at least Jarnkrok's right-handed. We know that he can like score double-digit goals. We don't know that about Kampf. Like he can move up and down the lineup competently. Like you're never gonna play Kampf anywhere more than what he is, which is the 4C. Like he'll never play above Nick Waugh. But Jarnkrok, like they moved him on. They started him in the second line with Tavares and Nylander. They need to stop doing that. Like you
Yeah,
can't
like
have
it's not a
Jarnkrok.
good look that works, but
No, like you can't have him on second line left wing. Like it just does not make sense with those two guys. But you could competently move up Jarnkrok. Like you could play Jarnkrok for shifts with Matthews and Nyes if you're protecting a lead.
yeah.
It like you could be like Domi, take a seat, Jarnkrok, go take a shift, and it would be fine. Like you're never doing any of that with Kampf. Like he just kind of is what he is. And then he's sitting there and it's like, well, you're not practicing PK with the team. You were sleeping on the Line A Demidov goal that you were on for. Like that was you. That was your job to block the seam. You weren't even competitive on it. And you're just kind of watching going like, well, he's not really sitting out there doing anything that says like, keep me up here. Like I want to play here. Like he's the standout guy for me of in like a bad way, where it's not like he's come. Like I said, like I think Jarnkrok has actually like put together some like good moments in preseason. You know, Robertson for like all the warts, like he scored. I know he like talked about the way that he went about it, but like he always shows that he can score. He didn't get a point against Montreal, but like he should have to me. Like he created the Tavares goal. Like he flew through the neutral zone. He got in on the forecheck. He actually should have drawn a penalty on that play. Him and Nylander don't get an assist on that goal. It went as an unassisted goal. I don't really care. Like to me, like Robertson was the main reason that puck went in the net or like got to Tavares to go into the net, followed by Nylander's forecheck, which was also good. Um, and then he drew a penalty in that game as well. He's been around it. Like I don't know what expectations are for Nick Robertson. It's like, do you think he's gonna come out and have like a hat trick every game in the preseason? It's like he's chipping in offense, he's drawing penalties. Like he's noticeable. Like he's a dangerous
I mean,
player.
the problem with Kampf is you just have to commit to the David Kampf experience. Like if you it's and we talked about this a lot when it was initially Kampf and Reeves. We're like, okay, this fourth line makes no sense from a purpose standpoint. Where if you're going to have Kampf and you're going to bury him and have like 77% defensive faceoffs or something, you can't have Reeves out there who is going to be a
No.
liability defensively. So if you're going to do Kampf, that means you're going to have him on a fourth line, and that fourth line is going to be specifically defense focused and extremely trustworthy because they're going to have to log a ton of defensive minutes. So now, like, not only do you have to have Kampf in the lineup, you have to put the right players around Kampf, which has like a knock-on effect. And then I think probably where Berube is at with it is like, is it worth it to do it? Like, is it worth it to do all that for this guy? And it's just not, because right
No.
now they have good NHL centers. That's the strength of their forward group right now is the centers they have. And you could argue that there's a better thing to do with Lawton to put him up on a wing somewhere, and maybe they'll try that at some point. But it does feel like if you have Kampf, you got to do the Kampf thing where you create this, eraser defensive line that takes a ton of shitty minutes and frees up the other groups. But that just requires a commitment to that strategy and the right players with him. And yeah, it's just not really worth it with the Leafs as currently constructed.
And that's the thing, it's as currently constructed because I like that role. And I'm in general, I'm loath to give up centers in general just because they're so hard to find in the league. Like it's genuinely difficult to find guys that can actually play center. A lot of guys think they can play center, but they can't. Camp actually can. But you're just looking at the four guys, and it's like Waugh and Lawton play similar-ish roles as Camp. Like that was why Camp didn't play in the playoffs last year. They had Lawton centering that Lorentz and Jarnkrok line, right? And then they have Domi, who they view, I guess, as their de facto like fifth center. And then you can get into conversations about Jacob Quillan or, I bet you Jarnkrok could take competent shifts at center because he has before in his career. In fact, Tree Living traded for him and had him at 3C in Calgary. So yeah, I look and just like it's redundant and I could handle that if he was making like $1 million. I actually wouldn't care at all. But for 2.4 and for another year, it just doesn't make sense. And so yeah, I mean, other quick like preseason, I guess, hits, like I like that they were able to send down Boyd, Lettieri, and Groulx already. Like they didn't mess around with it. They're just like, we want to keep these guys in the organization. I think Tree does a really good job of like working the waiver wire and understanding what will work, what won't work, giving out contracts to like quadruple A players that other teams aren't going to want to take on financially, right? Like Grohl in particular, like I actually thought he looked pretty good. Like he's 25, he's 6'2". He hasn't produced a lick in the NHL, but he's played NHL games. And like I thought he looked like completely like could take a shift. Like he looked serviceable alongside NHLers. And again, he's 25 and I don't mind having a few guys like that in and around the org where like he was once like I don't want to say highly touted, but like he comes with a little bit of something to him. Like at 25, he was a second round pick, and then you see him, and it's like his last few years in the AHL have like come along nicely in terms of like he had 37 and 47 last year. His previous stint in the A, he had 39. So, like I don't mind keeping a guy like that in his mid 20s around, see if he can like get something out of it, right? They gave him a 2-year deal. I like that. We'll see how he manages the defense because to me, like there's a ton of teams that should put a claim in on any of Myers, Thrun, or Mermis, or honestly even Benning.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that group as like, oh, the Leafs are 10 deep. Like they may not be 10 deep when it's all said and done because, these guys don't make a ton of money and they are competent and they could be someone's seventh defenseman who just sits in the press box or, even a sixth defenseman on just some shitty team that needs a body or gets an injury.
easily.
Like it's not out of the realm of possibility at all.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of curious how he manages that. In terms of other forwards, I don't think that there was like a ton else um, overly worth flagging. I like that they got Valis into another game. I thought he was really struggled in the rookie tournament. I thought he looked better in the preseason game, in part because he was on his strong side and not his off wing as a right-handed shot. So we'll see if he can put something together in the AHL. But you can see why they like him. Like he's big, he's a righty, like he plays like a power forward style. I think he has a shot to him. Like there's things to like there, but he's really, really raw. Like it's gonna take some like parent level patience to like work through a bunch of the stuff, but like I can see it. The rest of the group, like there's not a ton there, right? Like that's the result of doing what they've done over the years. And then in net, like I think Hildeby's look good. I think Akhtiamov, who I think I'm starting to pronounce that correctly, because I think he's talented. Like I think he looks good. I hate and say this every year. I hate when teams bring in a guy for the third period. Like just let them
It
play the
just
full
doesn't seem like you're
game.
putting a guy in the
Like
best position to succeed realistically.
it's hard to sit here and be like, no, I don't want to play, and like I don't want to play, like don't play me. But I would have to sit there and be like, don't play me. Like this
Yeah,
isn't
like
good for any of
I'm only
us.
gonna hurt myself out there
Yeah,
realistically.
I'm gonna come in cold for the third period. Like, how is that good? Um, so yeah, I mean, like I like their overarching like goalie pipeline. Like I think it's strong. Hopefully Wall's back soon. And then we'll see. And then on defense, the only other thing I didn't add is like I would have liked to have seen things moved around. Like I would have liked to have seen Riley with Tanev and McCabe with Carlo. Um, I think you want to preserve Tanev. I think McCabe and Carlo would more than capable of being a shutdown pairing. I think
Ruby's just been
Tanev,
so resistant to Riley Tanner, and it's preseason, so like who cares? Like why not do it?
but they were
But he's
good.
just so resistant to that in general that maybe he just thinks it's not even worth giving looks to because he just knows he's not going to go there. But he probably should at some point. It's like it's a long season. Again, like we spend a lot of time talking about lines, talking about pairings. That's fair, and we're going to spend a lot of time doing that during the season. I promise that. But like it is a long season. I think sometimes we treat each individual moment as like, okay, this is the team and this is how it's arranged, and we can get very deep on that. But like it is going to change. Like guys are
I'm
going to slump, guys
very
are going to get
curious.
hot, guys can get injured. Like it's gonna go through the blender. We're gonna see all the different iterations. That's just the reality of an 82 game season.
Yeah, I think yeah, and I think as we like just to tee up the rest of the week, I think it's hopefully seeing a little bit more of like maybe we get a look at Myers with Ekman Larson, right? Or another game with Benning kind of thing. And then I imagine it's just going to be Cowan with Lawton and Lorentz. I don't think we'll see like Robertson get a game there, but I would have liked to have seen that. And then from there, it's just about how they navigate the waiver wire. Like I would want to keep all these guys in the organization other than Kampf. So like to me, I would put Kampf on waivers before I put like if the decision is like 23rd roster spot and it's Kampf or Henry Thrun, it's Kampf that goes on waivers in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you could get a team to take Kampf, then that's what you would like to happen. Which, like I said, does not necessarily mean that he can't be an effective fourth line center somewhere. It's just the fit is not there right now. The trust is not there right now. And yeah, if there's another port for Kampf to sail into, that would probably be better for him and the organization, his career to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we're basically there and the season is upon us. Exciting times.
Ooh, yeah, we are. We're getting close. I cannot promise the listeners when exactly the next podcast will be, but we are getting close to the time when it will be a very much a regular show. So we really appreciate everybody who is listening in. We appreciate it even more when you're leaving ratings and reviews, watching on YouTube, and we'll be back with you again soon. And very soon, I'll be able to say we'll be back with you again next week every time and mean it.